Welcome to Raising Vibrations. You with Simon today, and in today's video we're going to be looking at the astrology of the day. And as you can see on the screen, 22nd of September 2020, no typos, woo! And this is titled Individuation. I'm really excited about this conversation today, or sharing. But before I jump into that, I just wanted to say one thing. I know that I've been putting out quite a lot of content recently, and I hope it's not overwhelming. B, I hope it's giving you value. And C, the reason why I feel so inspired at the moment to provide content in this way is because between now and the end of this year, when Jupiter, Saturn enter Aquarius, the very much of this context of this conversation today is a platform. It's like it's a bridge that we can be working on within ourselves that will allow us to have a stronger structure in our lives when Saturn and Jupiter move into Aquarius, and we experience reality from that point of view. So this is kind of me just trying to really put out a lot of content that supports us and gives us something to interact with, and it's a guidance basically. So just looking at my list of things that I want to say. Announcement. Quite a while ago, it was the beginning of this year, I think March maybe even, we did a thing called Astrology Immersion, and it was a journey through the 12 archetypes. And what we did was I created 12 videos, roughly about 35, 40 minutes long. And it was a process of understanding the archetypes, the 12 astrological archetypes, the houses, the signs, etc., through the feeling, like through feeling the experience as opposed to intellectually just understanding it. And it was a really, really cool experience because I really, really advocate the ability to feel and experience a transit and be able to use it as a tool for connection to your own personal journey. And that very much ties in with individuation. See, the Aquarius age and the Aquarius age reality is not about, from my point of view at least, it's not about one truth. It's about everybody having their own individual truth, their own individual experience, their own individual sense of reality that is in alignment and in accordance with who they are, right? Everybody has their own religion, individuated truth. And one of the ways to develop that, especially in a phase of life that we will all be going through, is to develop a connection to your own personal natal chart. So at the end of this video, I want to talk to you about what myself and Jen have done to add to our website and to add to the contribution and support for everybody. And so I want to talk to you about that afterwards. But also, while saying that, if you have your astrology chart with you, or grab your astrology chart, and while watching this video, just look at it. Just look at the certain configurations that are taking place, and instead of trying to intellectually answer the question, like, oh, what does that aspect mean? Although that is a natural process, just kind of sit with it and just feel into, the way that your chart looks. Think about it in the sense of, this is your journey. This is your emotional journey. This is not you in the sense that that's you from the chart's perspective, but it's reflecting to you a very personal experience that's unique to you, and it's this tool to access this quantum reality. So when you do these, when you have these videos, or when you watch these videos of mine, I encourage you to take out your astrology charts and look at where the transits are taking place, and think about how some of those transits are in that specific house, because this is what's speaking to your personal karma at the moment. Like, for instance, if you've got Pluto transiting your fourth and it's been there for 6 years, something around the fourth house component is a very big part of how you are evolving in this lifetime. Okay. Hope that gives you, firstly, some inspiration and some insight into how we could use astrology as a tool for self-empowerment. Okay, so let's jump into the chart first. And as you can see, I've highlighted Jupiter in Capricorn, Neptune in Pisces, and Venus in Leo. And this is forming what is called a Yod aspect, finger of God over there. And it's a really important aspect, okay? If we go over to our little aspects chart, you can see Venus over here, and then we go to all the way to Jupiter. There's Jupiter there, and you can see it's quincunx, right? And you can see with Neptune as well. There's Neptune, go all the way to Venus, and there's a quincunx symbol as well. Looks like a little table. All right, so what does it mean? Well, the archetypes of Capricorn, Leo, and Pisces, which, by the way, in the immersion video series that we did, when I break down each of the archetypes for you to understand them in a very intimate way, I show you how Leo is about the process of validation, and the inconjunct that Leo makes to Pisces and the inconjunct that Leo makes to Capricorn is the way that we actually individuate our creative purpose into society. Capricorn, society. Pisces, how do we align with the collective and where the collective is and where the collective's truth is at the moment? That's one of the things to contemplate, that not all of us are going to have an alignment with where the current governmental collective societal structure is. Some people will not thrive in a specific type of environment. Some people will, That's what that inconjunct talks about. It speaks to, or an aspect of it, should I say, speaks to the way that we assimilate into a collective truth, into a collective societal ideology. And this is a very important transition that we're experiencing right now. And the reason why is because, firstly, Jupiter in Capricorn, Jupiter 17 degrees direct just recently, and it's also making a connection to Pluto. Now, if we go over to the little chart over here, we'll see Pluto and we'll look for Jupiter. There it is there. Okay, so it's a conjunction. Pluto conjunct Jupiter, there and there. And it's 4 degrees applying, meaning that Jupiter is applying to Pluto. It's arriving to Pluto. Now, we have already had a Pluto-Jupiter conjunction, 2 of them, in fact. So what that means is that Jupiter is saying we are heading into another period of renewal and exposure around our personal philosophy within ourselves and the collective philosophy and truth that is out there in the world. Okay, so how do we become aligned with the collective's truth, the collective's ideologies, the collective's the cultural norms? This being big word here, like how do we assimilate into the culture that we live in, right? And we are, because we're individuating so much and diversifying so much, it's very difficult to actually have one individual controlling mechanism that says this is the law. It's very present, but many people are finding it very difficult to align with that singular law making system. And so it is senescent. It is run its course. So this Jupiter-Pluto conjunction is talking about the merging between the dying system and an entirely new structural philosophy and meaning that is emerging. Okay, and the quincunx to the Jupiter, to the Venus in the 5th house is, well, how do you fit into that process? Where are you within the context of your own personal desires, dreams, visions of reality, and the overarching structure of societal reality that is in transition? How do you find yourself in this world at the moment, right? And that's the first thing. The other inconjunct between Leo and Pisces, or Leo and the 12th house or Neptune, is, well, we can experience being felt like we are connected to an individual spiritual truth, right? Or we can feel completely lost at sea with a sense of meaninglessness, a sense of hopelessness, a sense of lostness, right? We're lost. And the lost is the Pisces, because it's dissolving all the definition. So we're in this, like I said, we're in this process of two parallel realities in which one structure, which is senescent, as in it's run its course, it is starting to fray the um, the very nature of its organic aging process has reached its end, and so therefore it's starting to age. Well, it is aged, right? And because it's aged, it's weak. Because it's weak, it can't hold its structure anymore. So that's what we're experiencing with the Neptune and the Capricorn. Whereas on the other side, we also have an emerging sense of individuation from everybody, where they're trying to disconnect from one truth ideology and individuate into, well, what is my meaning? What is my truth? What is my experience of life? Who am I? These like really, really big questions. So today, this in conjunct, this finger of God is asking you the question, right? Who are you? What is your spirituality? Not what the collective is or what has been told to you, but what is your perception of reality? What is your perception of the world? How do you see it for yourself? Right? So that's that. And then, you've got Mercury over here still squaring that. So we're working with the process of re-languaging things, how we're re-languaging experiences, how we're learning how to reshape the way that we identify trauma, right? A lot of the time when we're in the past, we may have repressed our trauma, whereas now we're recognizing the importance of reprocessing as much as we can of it within the capacity that we can, so that we can liberate ourselves from being stuck in emotional flashbacks or stuck in parts of ourselves where we're, horribly feeling a lack of self-worth, these types of things. So we're relanguaging the importance of understanding what trauma means to us and how we are living in a society in which there is a tremendous amount of emotional dislocation. That's one of the reasons why when Saturn and Jupiter enter Aquarius, it's going to be difficult for a lot of people to feel connected, because they'll be emotionally dislocated, disjointed. Aquarius is about dislocation or disjointedness. Okay. So that's that energy over there. But it all speaks to this. Yeah. It all speaks to the Venus, Neptune, and Jupiter aspect. So who am I? Right. And the way that you answer that question is coming into the self. And that can be very difficult at times, because, well, how do I identify myself? You have to find ways in your day to connect with embodied processing, embodied experiences that ground you, that check in with your likes, and so on. Okay. So I wanted to shift over to this picture over here. And this was a really, really cool way to explain the current astrological weather at the moment, particularly the quincunxes between Leo, Capricorn, and Pisces. And I think of the pure and Senex wording that comes from, I think Jung first discovered it in Ovid's Metamorphosis, and he kind of brought it forth within his psychoanalytical work. And these words simply translate to the pure is the young eternal boy. All right, the young eternal boy. This is the part of us that is the sun, the center, the childlikeness of us, the imagination, the boundlessness. This is Neptune and Pisces. It's where is our creativity? Where is our spontaneity? Where is our ability to wonder? And the reason why I want to put this across to everybody in terms of individuation and to connect with this in yourself is Saturn in Aquarius, Jupiter in Aquarius has to do with the capacity to tap into creativity. And one of the ways that we tap into creativity is we begin to reintegrate within ourselves, Jupiter in conjunct Venus, the parts of our life that have never been nurtured. That, well, I say this with great caution to those of you who have felt like the creativity has not been nurtured within yourself, or the absenceness, right? We lived in a society predominantly that valued the assimilation into a society where your sense of pure, as it were, your imagination, your creativity, your art in that sense, it was boxed, it was put into labels, okay? And it was sold as ambition. And so we have these we have these personalities that are rooted in busyness and the need for ambition, right? To be ambitious and ambitious to find external material gratification. And a large percentage of that experience led to an emptiness inside that material objects would fulfill through quick emotional highs that would create a sense of connection to what would ultimately be the actual organic pure, which is the imagination childlike state. But these quick fixes would induce a almost pseudo expression and experience of connection to a deep part within ourselves. And so we feel almost as if there isn't anything in us, this emptiness, right? We are switching from a societal model of structure that is rooted in that ambition in that way to meaning, to living a life that has meaning, living life that has depth, living life that has your own take on it. And the pure and the senex, in this case, senex is represented by Saturn, right? The aged part of ourselves. So we're in this beautiful dynamic where society is in its senex state, right? It is aged. It is lack of individuation. It is lack of creative ideals and vision. It's lack of divine inspiration, right? In its structure. They're not the people. There are people in there that are individuating in that process. And this aspect of our creative self is emerging through the Aquarius age. And the way that we come to understand this individuation process is by seeing the relationship between the circle, which is the Saturn part, the boundary, and the sun, which is our puer, which is the creative inner child. It is the ability to dream. It's the ability to have wonder. It's the ability to explore and to individuate yourself from the collective truths that say this is what it means to be, an adult, versus an entirely new way of following your own thread. So these energies at the moment speak to this beautiful opportunity to align with a system or a structural reality or an institution of way of being within yourself that is defined by your own center. And we're reconnecting that place. And that's what the inconjunct between Leo, Capricorn, and Pisces is about. Your divine spark, your creativity, your genius. And this is the essence of this archetypal thematic. This is the finger of God process. Okay, so I'm going to finish off today's video before I talk to you about the Astrology Immersion by a quote. And I want to thank Monica for posting this or sharing it on her social media because when it was actually, I literally read it like probably 3 minutes before I created this video. And when I saw it, I was like, oh, that's the quote I want to use for this video. So thanks very much, Monica, for doing that. I appreciate it. Even though you were just sharing what you were sharing, So to take full responsibility for your life, right? To take full responsibility for your life. Capricorn, Jupiter, right? Your life. This is the process of Venus and Leo, right? Which is not judging yourself, right? So we're changing the senescent way of, oh, I've got to be here, I've got to do that, I'm always trying to be better, etc. Some of that nonsense. We're taking that all away. Jupiter, balsamic phase to Pluto, killing that out. Is okay. So for your life is actually a key to being free. So take full responsibility for your life is actually a key to being free. So we kind of got this Chiron message here, right? Sitting here with the key and then the responsibility aspect, talking about the Saturn and the Capricorn and the Jupiter, even Pluto, because it means that no one and no past experience can control or determine your current state of being, right? So that's the circle in the previous picture that I showed you, right? When we individuate, we develop our own sense of self, and that boundary stops the information from external people from actually penetrating that and saying, I'm affected by that, right? We can be affected by things, absolutely. But to individuate, let me go back to the chart over here, and to take responsibility for life says, I can do this. I can assume responsibility for the situation. I want to study astrology, or I want to do this dream, or I want to fulfill that experience. So what are you going to do to make that happen in your life? Okay. So the keys to your life and your freedom are in your hands. And I thought this was super cool because there's this kind of North Node in Gemini. And for anybody that knows astrology, Gemini speaks to the archetype of hands. So an amazing experience and something beautiful to reflect upon at this point in time. Okay. All right, peeps. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the Astrology Immersion journey through the 12 archetypes. So here's the value, right? This is the reason why we put it onto our website and decided to share it in this way. So firstly, on our website, we have posted, there are 12 videos in this immersion experience, okay? And we posted the first video free on our website, and I'll put the link to go and watch that. And the intention here is this. We want everybody to connect to their personal birth chart, right? We want you to connect to what it means to live your life, right? What does it mean to understand what you're trying to evolve here? And the best way to do that is to look at the transit that you're having, or to look at the solar return transit that you're having as well, or progressions, whatever. And say you see Venus square Mars in your chart, right? You go like, oh, I've got Venus in my 4th house as an example, Venus squaring my Mars. Then what you would do is this astrology immersion is 12 videos of all of the 12 archetypes. And as I said, they were created in a video format in which I teach you to go to understand it intellectually, as in why the archetype is made up the way that it is. But then we go into the body and we experience the archetype. We feel it. We feel what it's like to experience Taurus. We feel what it's like to experience Scorpio. We feel what it's like to experience Aquarius. Not intellectually understand it so that we write 1,000 words about this, but we feel the experience of, oh, I've got Venus transiting my 8th house right now. So for the next month and a half, I'm going to be really, really working on feelings of abandonment, where I may have attached to certain relationships and realized that I gave away too much power, and acknowledge that emotion. So this immersion is a tool with 12 archetypes that you can use to allow yourself to connect to the transits and solar returns and even your own personal birth chart, right? You connect to it and you listen to, say, my example over here, you got Venus in your 4th house. You listen to the archetype of Taurus and you listen to the archetype of Cancer. And what you do is you use the exercise I give you to connect with the experience, so that when you actually look at Venus transiting your 4th, you can know not only what to expect, but you can also feel the experience, evolve through it, because you know to come to your own conclusions about the experience. And that's the highlight here, is how can you individuate yourself from the need to use an astrologer to consistently help you process stuff, where you can actually help yourself process it, okay? And this tool set, this toolbox, gives you the opportunity to take those archetypes and say, okay, now I'm having Mars about to enter my 1st house. All right, so let me go listen to the 1st house archetype. And I'll listen to it, I'll feel into the experience, I'll do some exercises. Now I can take advantage of what it means to have that transit there. So we're actually embodying the experience of what it's like to live out our astrology versus just intellectually understand it. So if that's something that really, really inspires you or catches your attention, I've put a link in the description and the comments below. We've got it on our website. We're running a special at the moment. And you can also go and watch the first video of this, so you can get a sense of what it is that we're actually talking about as well, okay? In these video series. All right. Peeps, have an amazing day, and I hope that you really found some value in this content. If you did, please let me know in the comments. I'd appreciate that, because then at least I know that I'm on track with something over here, as opposed to just sound like a crazy person talking into a microphone and a camera. All right. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.